Well, Tiana, how's it
Yeah,
going?
it's going well in you.
So great to have you here. I've always wanted to have you here because you speak so well. Every time that we talk, I always get motivated by your passion for bodybuilding, for your story, for everything that I mean, I feel like even though Dom have been coaching you for less than a year, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it feels like you've been in the team forever.
No,
It feels like
it's
I've known you for a long time. I think we
yeah.
lived very important and powerful moments in our lives. It was my first Olympia, it was your first Olympia, and we were able to share together and learn a lot of things together. So I'm so happy to have you here. But I want you to tell me a little bit of how things are going with you. I know you're on off season, what your plans are for the next season.
All right. So yeah, I'm only into. Coach gave me a back off week before going into the off season. So the first week back in off season was just feeling the new program through because he did give me a new training program and just seeing how it flows, And then I
Hmm.
had I'm only in my third week now of really, pushing the weights. And like I said, it's totally different for me in this off season having a coach that I am responsible to check in with, make sure my progress, sending training progress and all of that, which is obviously brand new for me because I've never had to have a training book where I've been writing down reps and weights and stuff like that. So, for me, that is quite different. And,
You would be very
obviously
surprised, Tiana. You would be very surprised how a lot of professionals
detail.
like yourself never had a structure off
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's actually scary because I mean, you're looking at it now and then you do understand why certain people are where they're at, you know, because the difference is in their off season. And, they don't just walk into it and there they go, which what I've been doing for it feels like forever. So yeah, it's
Yep.
quite different.
Mhm.
But I'm enjoying it. But like I also said to you previous years, just getting used to the off season body is
I
being
know.
kind to yourself, when you're looking in the mirror, because it's easy to put your head down and work when it's prep time. But once
Yep.
it's off season, I think I made a post about this where Tony catches me looking at myself and he goes, no, because when you're in your off season, you're not very kind to yourself. You cringe at every mirror you look at. So,
I
it's terrible.
I feel you. I feel you. I'm kind of the same way. I try to put the same clothes. For example, when I'm maybe like 6 weeks out or 5 weeks out, and I find a cute outfit and I put it on and but during that time you don't really feel
Doesn't
like
look
going out anyway because you're so tired and you're just so focused on the end goal, so you're like I'm gonna wear that when it's time, and then right after the show you start your recomp and your body composition changing. You go try the same outfit, you're like, that doesn't look the same.
does it? No, it's terrible. I always say you need to have an off season and off season covered. You need to have two.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But so tell me what has been different for you. So I know you've been competing for some time, right? Can you tell me a little bit of a background of when you started competing, what
Yeah.
category you started competing, and then what is the difference throughout the years in your evolution in
Yeah.
bodybuilding?
So I did my first show in 2009. And
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to do bikini, but once I showed up back then, bodybuilding was quite different from what it is today. So I ended up, um, I wanted to do bikini, but once I got to the show, I had a six pack. And even though I was really tiny, I had little shoulders and a small bicep and a tricep. And for bikini back then, that was like a no go. So they ended up putting me in figure. So I walked on stage in figure, only weighing 49 kilograms.
Wow. How
And
much
I
do you
was
weigh
really,
now?
uh, well, I think at this show, when I got on stage now, was what, around 65, 66, probably.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah, so it's quite a difference, but yeah, so that's how I started. And, I've always been competitive in whatever I do, whether it was my track and field in school and my horse riding and stuff like that. So I've always been really competitive. So obviously that was just the next thing, is that I just did my one show and then it just started rolling, and yeah, like I've had my share of coaches that's taken me through, and I always say you learn something from everybody. It's
100%.
everybody has some brick they're laying in your way up, But I think now being with Dom, he's my first actual coach that's doing a proper off season with me. So
Mhm.
even working with me in a recomp phase, because normally the only way I've done my shows is I send you home and go eat and pull you off whatever PEDs you're on. There's no there's no working your way through it. So it's just which makes you slam on weight so quickly. So I mean, it's just crazy with how Dom was doing it. It was gradually, and getting the body slowly backing off. And that's the worst thing, is was getting my mind to just chill even after the show, because you're so on the
Go,
roll to
go,
get
go, go.
to have that just sit back for a second. It wasn't easy for me at all. Yeah. Because remember, I've been doing it most of the year. So
I have a friend who once told me while I was training, and I thought it was so interesting. He said, I train several different, demographics, so many different types of women that want to lose weight or just work on their mobility, or then professional athletes or inspired to be athletes. And the athletes are completely different talk. It's almost like a horse, a stallion that is just racing and you have to pull, otherwise it's just going to jump off the cliff.
mm, yeah.
And
And I think,
meanwhile, there are the different demographic that you're begging to go to the gym at least twice a week or 3 times a week because it's important for their health. They don't like it. They do it because it's necessary. And then there is the other demographic like us, who you say go, we just sprint, and there is
yeah.
no.
Yeah, even like Tony, sometimes he'll tell me, and that this is also where my prep was different with Dom, was actually training 3 days, having one day off, 3 days, one day off. That saved me mentally and physically a lot. Because in the past, you'll be training twice a day, 7 days a week, and then you'll be training. So it's constantly just go, go, go. No off days, no rest days. So that was also slightly different for me, that I had to actually go, okay, Tiana, you need to now rest today. So, and I think that saved me a lot, because in the past, Tony had to tell me, Tiana, you're exhausted, but like you say, you put your head down and you work. You don't really, if you're like me, when I'm in prep, I don't give emotions and how I feel much room to influence whether I work out today or don't work out. I just keep on showing up regardless of how I feel, how I'm thinking. But Tony actually in the past had to just reel me in and say, Tiana, you need to take a rest day today. You look tired. If
Yeah,
clients start coming to you and saying, um, especially after starting with Dom, they would come to me and they'll tell me, yo, you look healthy now. And that was a big shocker, because you don't even realize how you're physically starting to look. And people notice, but you're so goal goal set and
like they
just
don't understand. They don't understand. It's just it. Let me go. Let me
just
go. You
get it
don't.
done. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. So I never forget when you were here and you were in the car and you said that people were telling you look healthier and that you had energy to actually keep up with your
Right.
work outside bodybuilding kind of throughout
Yeah.
the whole prep, as opposed to just sitting down and just kind of waiting for
Yeah.
the day go
Like
by.
yeah, I said to you that day, I'll be walking in the gym, and I started realizing my mind was just finding little places where it wanted to go sit, because I was so tired. It felt like I was carrying tons of weight with my legs, and it And it's only stepping back after starting with you guys, I was realizing, geez, you're not supposed to feel, yes, we should feel tired. You are exhausting your body, but not to that level where your body's scouting, your mind's scouting for places to sit while you're training a client. It's just not, doesn't seem right, right? So,
I think that is I think that is a very poisoned mindset in a sport that tells us the worse we feel, the better we look. And when we hear something like that for people like us, we take it to heart. So we think it's almost a signal for us to achieve the goal, which is the ultimate look on stage. So there is a difference in feeling absolutely terrible where something is going wrong, where your body's telling you there is something wrong. And then the difference of I am tired because I'm taking my body to, places where never been before. I'm taking my body to the extremes, especially as a female, to the very low percentage of body fat, which is uncomfortable. But I understand that because this is what it comes with achieving that look.
territory, yeah.
But it's once you lived both, you really know the difference. Now, if you have a young girl or in a sport, now no matter of the age, but somebody who just started bodybuilding or a guy who hears that the worse you feel, the better you look, they're not they're not able to distinguish that. And might be too late when they realize that something shoot, it wasn't my body just being low body fat. And yes, you're not gonna feel good. Let me tell you that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's different than running high blood sugar levels, high blood pressure, or having your kidneys failing. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah,
that
no,
very dangerous the mindset of having that mindset.
yeah, and I mean that for me is a big change as well in peak week because when I was doing my peak week previously, I was just out of it. Emotionally, I was out of it. Physically, I was out of it. I was, I want to say depressed, but it was just totally emotionally zoned out. And I
Disconnect.
wasn't having, yeah, I always dread going through my peak week just because of that, because I couldn't find the the positive feelings. And so when I started with you guys, I mean, my first show, I had energy, I was positive, I was having fun, and that is just one of the other differences I had in my prep with Dom was just the change in my peak week. It's mentally and emotionally was 100% different. Yeah.
That's so
So
amazing
yeah,
to hear.
that's just yeah.
So
And
amazing
obviously
to
the
hear.
body responded positively as well. Like I said to it was Triple Dynasty. I was getting ready for that show. I wasn't with you guys yet. And I couldn't sleep. I was sleeping an hour a night. Now that's not normal and that's not healthy. You know? Um it was, and then it's probably, and if you know, I love my sleep. I am addicted to my sleep. Nobody will bother my sleep. All right. So for me to lay in that bed and not be able to just, I am so tired. But then when I go to sleep, it's for an hour, hour and a half, and then you're awake. And that was
And
just
then there
horrible.
is no and then your body just not going to look proper, right?
No,
So that's I think to clarify here, it's important that, and that's something that Dom always tells me to do, that we do acknowledge that there are good coaches in the industry. We do have a few people that we know that we sometimes share stuff with, and we applaud them for the work that they do too. So it's not for people to think our way is the only way. But there are also a lot of coaches that have really permanently caused physical issues, things that are very hard to reverse, especially in women. But I think the saddest thing is that they took really the passion away from bodybuilding from a lot of people because if you are not able to sleep, at least, I mean, sleep is somewhat hard, especially when you feel all the emotions and you're excited
Yeah, yeah,
and you have
yeah.
so many things to take care of. But if you're just sleeping an hour a day and you're feeling a little bit depressed, like you said, you're feeling like you want to sit down all the time because you're so, um, then who can really be in love with that process or
Mm,
love bodybuilding? That's why you
yeah,
see faces for a couple years and then all of a sudden they disappear. Or you have incredible females that I don't know her really well. I don't truly follow her journey, and so I just see her sometimes from time to time when I am on stage, or when I see him, or I see, like, I watch a show. But Rachel, for example, she made incredible, Rachel from Women's Physique, she made
yeah, yeah,
incredible progress. She's somebody that I was like, wow, incredible, legs, incredible glutes, but she wasn't able to complete and finish the finish line.
yeah, yeah.
She pulled up from the I mean, again, I'm not here to criticize the coach
No,
or how she does it, but sometimes you put all of that work and then you're not able to finish.
yeah, it's I think sometimes for us as well, you're outside and you're seeing another athlete's journey. For example, I also, um, uh, I've seen people compete with me whole year, and by the end of the year, emotionally, they just weren't same person you met at the first show because they were so out, you know? And you
Mhm.
understand it as an athlete where it's coming from, you know, but it's sad that that is to the extent that some people do push their bodies, that they ending up there. And, I can relate to that, so when you notice that, you sort of want to cry with them because it shouldn't be that way. Now, me being with you guys and experiencing my prep year, I mean, it was a prep year for me. Um, so much different, and I'm
Mhm.
going, but this is what is making it fun. Is being able to have fun while you are doing all of this, not feel like a bus has run over you 3 times already today, And yeah, it's a thing, So yeah.
Definitely. So now what have you planned anything as far as shows, or what is I
Well,
know there is
yeah.
no Master Olympia this year, it's just next year, right?
Next year, yeah. So I'm very much focused on that as well. Just because I feel like I have the title and I have to defend it now, But
Yes, absolutely.
so we did speak to coach. So the plan is to do this full off season, which is still about 11 weeks left of that. And then do a short recomp again of a health phase, and then we'll decide from there. But he said, also at the end of the day, it's my decision. So we'll just see where we're at, because obviously I do need size, right? So it is where I'm coming a little bit short. Um, for my physique, I don't want to walk around 80 kilograms. It's not going to look,
Right.
it's just not going to fit my physique, So, um, once we start that, finish with that one health phase, we'll see where we're at, and we'll sit down with you guys and really discuss this and what is the show options. And then also keeping in mind that masters will be that next year. So depending on, for me also having to think about, is masters earlier in next year again, or will it be a little bit later? Because we just don't know right now. So, but now I'm just working on getting this muscle on. Like we'll take it as we're going. There's no set date, no set schedule. It's just putting on that
Yes.
muscle, which takes time. There's
Yeah,
no use for
absolutely.
me chasing to get onto stage and then not bringing the changes that's required for me to move further up the ladder. It's just not. It's an
I agree.
expensive one. It's a lot of
Yes,
money to get onto a plane and fly back and forth the whole time trying to chase it.
definitely.
So
I agree.
yeah, so we'll see where we're at, and then if coach thinks I have, enough muscle to actually make an impact, then and there's a show that we can be ready for, we'll probably do it. Um, but like also it's a team effort, right? So it's from you guys and from our side. So we'll take it as it comes. You know, it's my first structured off season like this. I don't know how my body's going to react at all. I have no clue. So, you know, it might be, we might be really surprised, or we gotta go, okay, we need to take another round, you know?
It's crazy because I see there is no such a thing as like age really when it comes to bodybuilding if the person is consistent. So what I've seen before, if a woman, for example, competes in her mid 30s and then she maybe stopped for a couple years because she decided to be a mother, or she decided to take a couple years off, didn't train really for that time, or trained but nothing like the way that we do, and then goes back on stage. That's when I see a little bit, or sometimes not even that. She might not even take the time off, but the intensity of the training starts to go down and she
Mm.
still competes as she's getting older. That's when you see a bigger like difference in even in the skin composition, like when she gets lean, like because she didn't really build and had the muscle maturity throughout the years because the
Yeah,
training
yeah,
declined. So you see a little bit more of the skin loose on the glutes. You don't see many changes, and then we assume, okay, it's because she's getting older. But then I see women, like for example, I don't know how old you are. You're over 40 because
yeah.
you're,
I'm 42. Yeah, turning
yes, you're
43 this year.
42.
Yeah,
So you have women like yourself. You have Susan, who is 46. Then you have Sherry, who is 49, I think. And you guys have physiques that crush anybody who is in their mid 30s. So I think it's a message too for females when and I think that Sherry, when I had a podcast with her, she told me she started training when she was 40. She she was in sports before, but she didn't really
yeah,
take it serious until she was 40, which
crazy.
is so impressive.
Yeah,
But then, so that's why it's difficult to judge. I mean, not that I'm judging, but for lack of a better word, is it's hard to judge because that's a word we use in bodybuilding, not in the sense of person, right? But
yeah, yeah,
physique. When you look at a woman and say, okay, she's over 40, I can see it. Oh, it's because she's over 40. No, you don't know how that person trains. You don't
yeah.
know how
There's a
that
lot
person
of
eats
factors you
throughout
don't
the day.
understand.
It
Yeah,
is a lot of factors. So
yeah,
when you get the demographic like you, Susan, Sherry, who are consistently doing all the things, then look what happens. You have,
yeah,
have a champion, you have, top 10 Olympia, you have, you know, amazing physiques regardless.
yeah. No, for sure. Look, I think also that is what's so fun about the off season program now with the new program is a lot of my years competing. I was training and I was training hard, but it wasn't structured. So I don't think I was pushing to hit certain levels in my training. I was just training hard, and so you think you're training hard, but you're just maintaining what your body's used to doing, right? So there's no growth. So there's a lot of time in my career in off season where, especially there was a time where I didn't know where I was falling, whether it was women's physique or women's bodybuilding. So I stagnated my training because I didn't know where to go, you know. So so yeah, I think training. I think if I was with you guys many years earlier, I would have had a different picture today because, like I said, there's a lot of years where I just sort of flatlined my training, just did the same basic stuff, no change,
Mm-hmm. I Sometimes when I look in the past when I first started bodybuilding too, there are a lot of things that I wish I had done differently too. And I
Yeah,
think I think the number one, of course, is definitely having a coach that pays attention to, what really matters, which is training. And I know it sounds crazy, but you don't see a lot of emphasis in training in a lot of coaches. You just, you get a whatever workout plan, but there is no really falling. up in making sure that you are hitting certain numbers. But aside from the coaching aspect too, I think something that I wish I had earlier was really the community. And that's why I like to call and I asked Dom if we could, because his prior name for his company, his LLC is Best Build Fitness. And I wanted to do the Best Build team because we have this idea that bodybuilding is a solo sport, because
Yeah.
in the end it is, because you're there
Yeah.
like on stage,
You're doing the
alone,
work. Yeah.
right? You're not on the field with the team. But there is no such a thing as a bodybuilder alone.
Mhm. No, it takes a
You
village.
need Yeah, you need it takes a village. Yeah, you need the coach, you need the opposing coach, you need the people that you can communicate with. We can do the things what you're doing right now, which is an inspiration, motivation for other people and for ourselves. Is the community in the gym, is the people supporting, the people who look at you and like the other day, I think 2 days ago, I was in the gym and I was stretching and this huge guy. I even like got a little bit like I usually never really get like a little bit scared with big people, but he just came my way and I kind of saw him like in a slow mo, like boom, boom, boom. He's coming my way. I'm like, okay, I think he's coming here because I was right in the corner in the gym, and he looked at me. He gave me his hand and he's like, "I'm a huge fan." I'm like,
So,
"Oh." So he is a strong man. He
yeah.
coaches strong women for the Arnold. And he said he watches my YouTube, he has seen my pictures, and he really like appreciates all the work, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking to myself afterwards, I was like, man, I know that there are a lot of comments we see on pictures. I mean, I don't know about you, but I used to see a lot more because I was, I mean, not as much on Instagram now, because I think now the niche kind of like filtered. So most of the people that follow me, they follow because they enjoy bodybuilding. But if you were to branch out a little bit to like TikTok, which is a little bit of a younger demographic, so they might not really understand.
Same. Yeah.
Even Facebook is like an older demographic. Then you see a lot of comments like, "Is that a dude? Why is she doing that to herself? That looks like it hurts." Like stupid comments, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this big guy who's like 10 times my size looking at me and saying like, "I watch your videos." I'm like, "Oh." So I think that going back to what I wish I had earlier is that I wish I was looking at the cup half full instead of half empty like I was. Because when I first started, my surroundings was I worked in hospitality field, so I work in food and beverage, people who are a little bit more like a little bit no, I wouldn't say snobby, but they have like this classy way of being because they're tasting wines and they're tasting expensive food. And I worked at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills, so they would look at a female who has a little bit more muscle, and they would almost like be like that
Yeah.
doesn't like that that doesn't look proper or classy, or that's not
Yeah.
how a woman should look like. So I was around that, and on top of that, I had an ex boyfriend who was also a bodybuilder, but for some reason, he developed a jealousy towards me, but not a jealousy as, "Oh, this is my woman, don't look at her."
Yeah.
It was
Competitive.
jealousy against me because I got my pro card before him. And then he looked at me and he said, "That was supposed to be mine." And
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time, and this is not a
Yeah.
sport for females. So then I was kind of consumed and swimming in that pool of negativity toward the sport. So my drive towards it was like, I want to do it. Like me, Amanda, the younger girl, I want to do it, but I have no
Your surrounding
outside
wasn't.
surrounding support. So I was just like, I'm winging it. I'm just like doing like whatever I can, but no progress until I finally broke through that and enter a completely different world.
Mm. No, it is very true. Your surroundings does shape you. It's like with Tony, you know, I mean, I wouldn't
Tony is
be
your
a
biggest fan.
yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing if it because he's the one that's sacrificing the hours of work to be able to pay for whatever I need, you know? Um, because he tries to take so much stress off me that he puts all of that on him, you know? And so, especially when you have to travel from South Africa to the States, for example, you know, it's everything is times 18 for us. So one of your dollars is 18 of our rand. So you, you know, it's financially, it's tough, you know, and, you know, and then everybody else sort of just trying to, yeah, even my son just trying to, you know, shift a little bit so that everything is a little bit more comfortable for me, you know. So, you know, the people around you make a very big difference, you know. But I've learned in life, in especially in the sport and in life in general, you need to have a thick skin. Because whether it's in the sport or if it's just out of in social public, whether you are too fat, too thin, too muscular, too short, too tall, there'll always be somebody saying something. You cannot let that enter into your soul, you know? So I've
Yeah.
always said you need to have a thick skin like a rhino, because at the end of the day, even sometimes I'll walk with some of my friends and they'll say, "Did you see how people look at you?" I don't even notice that anymore. It just it just doesn't matter anymore, you know. Um, you know, you have to, especially here in South Africa, it's still a really, you know, fitness, it's growing, but it's still very small. And so I mean, right now, I don't even think in the shows we have much of women's bodybuilding shows, you know, the category itself, because we just, there's no women here, you know. So, and that's why that's one of the reason I get so excited to travel, because I get to meet other women that do what I do. And it's so exciting. And that's why I sometimes think other countries, females, you know, women take this for granted, their communities they have, because we don't have it here. I don't have 5 or 6 other friends that do the same thing I'm doing. Yeah, so,
That's
yeah, it's quite different, you know?
absolutely. I agree. I agree with you. And that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of like really connect us in terms of, doing the podcast or doing some YouTube videos where I train with other females. Because I grew up in, growing up in Brazil, it was very much different than what I see kids growing up sometimes here in America. I don't know how it is there in South Africa, but Y they were somewhat they especially back in the early '90s, we all kinda knew each other. My mom lived in her house for a long time, so she would know all the neighbors, and so my mom, myself, like her kid, would know her friend's kids, so we all kinda grew up together. So I grew up in a house with a lot of kids and a lot of people, and I would go to my friend's house, my friends would go to my house, we would ride our bikes and just yell in the gate like, "Amanda!" And
Yeah,
then we
yeah.
would go running and just, it wouldn't no cell phones, no WhatsApp, we wouldn't have even a way to, like, communicate what time we were arriving or what
And it
time
was
where
safe.
we're going, but we always met. We
Yeah.
always met, we were always in touch, it was always some kind of adventures or trouble we would get into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, moving forward in our lives, like in general as a human, we tend to always kind of praise the smaller the circle, the better it is, which I get it because it's a way of protecting your house and yourself and your family. But I also believe that sometimes we tend to just close it too much, where we are constantly worried about people taking what is yours and not seeing that some people are generally just interested in you as a person. There is nothing that they
Yeah.
want to take from you. They just want to like, get some coffee together, get sushi together, go get a training together or have a chat together. There is nothing that I want to gain from it. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's a hard mentality as we get older because we lose touch with the child of, like self, of just like being
Oh, for
interested in
sure.
those people.
Yeah.
But with that said, that's one of the things why I wanted to do this. But you would be surprised how even in a country where we have so many different women in the sport, I don't see a lot of the girls training together or getting
No,
together.
yeah. No, it is, I must say, but yeah, it's, it for me, it's nice when I was training there with you, and Lavina was doing her thing at the one gym. It's
Social
nice
gym.
just to you don't even have to train together. It's just being in the same vicinity makes a difference,
Because it
and
pushes you, right? It
yeah, and I
pushes
mean
you.
you're slightly awestruck because I mean you're standing here between girls you've never seen in your life before, and you're just used to you're used to seeing them when you're checking the stats for the day after Olympia, trying to see who did what. So there I was standing there backstage, and you know, it's sad to me sometimes that some of the girls are really inviting, and then some of the girls are just really standoffish. And I just want to
Yep.
hug everybody, and it's like, because I mean, you look at them via social media, and you're going, "Gosh, I wish I can be them." And then I got there this year, and I was like, just very, awestruck. Like I say, it's like, okay, I'm here. And then just seeing everybody. So yeah,
It's again, like you said, it all depends on the person's like background and like sometimes childhood, the way they were raised, right? Not to say it was right or wrong, but I can tell that some women are a little bit more like don't
yeah,
invade my
just
space.
yeah,
And I respect that, and that's fine. But I do think that it lacks a little bit of that sisterhood in the bodybuilding community. You
yeah.
see
No, I
some group.
understand. I also understand the standoffish, but at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do to change anything before we go on stage. So I mean, it's just let your guard down for 2 seconds and just enjoy the people that are around you. Giving you a hug isn't going to ruin your results on stage by any means. But like you say, some people are,
I think you mentioned something like that happened in the Masters Olympia too. That in the back, I mean, you do get along with the girl who got second really well. I
yeah,
remember seeing a
yeah, no, I love her.
thing.
Yeah. So we always have a little tussle. I was laughing because I said to her, what? I can't remember exactly, but she says, "Yeah, I jinxed her because then they pulled us out again for the
Finals,
yeah, the
the final.
finals. They put us with me and her on stage for the comparisons again." And I was just laughing at her. No, but so we enjoy. I mean, she's just one of those energies that she runs from across the room to come and give you a hug. That is the energy she has. So, and it's nice. Because you stand there and you sort of look at each other for a second and then you do your posing. So there's that energy without even really, you're not saying anything, but so it's so much fun when you have
That's
like I could have shared that with her because it makes it so much fun. Because isn't it? I mean, you've worked real hard. Nothing you're going to do right now is going to mess up any results for you. It doesn't have to be, yes, we're there and you still need to be game on, but that doesn't mean that you have to raise an eyebrow at somebody. And you're not better than anybody else that is there. So even if you won the show previously and you're there, just be humble enough to not think that that you're above everybody else. So just enjoy the moment, and that's why I could. It was so much fun with her, and every show with her is like that. She's just high energy.
I love that. I love that. I
Yeah.
remember seeing her um at the Rising Phoenix. I think that was the very first time that I was able to really watch her because I was paying
Mm,
attention to the show. And she does have a beautiful physique. She's
yeah.
bubbly. She has amazing size. Really great. And I think that's the show that you got second, right? Against her?
No, so it wasn't Rising, it was the Triple Dynasty. And it was
Yeah,
the
I'm
third
sorry.
show.
Yes.
No,
Triple.
it's all right.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's a Triple
Yes.
Dynasty, yeah. But I mean, I I I I knew I didn't know she was getting because she kept it pretty quiet that she's going to get to the show. So, you not that I pay much attention competition wise who shows up and who doesn't. But once I saw her there, I was like, man, I'm in trouble. It's going to be a hard one. You know? So yeah, it was fun. But I'd say to Tony, if there's somebody that's going to take it, it's going to be between me and her. So, and yeah, I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
she was just on her game that day. So yeah,
Yeah. But that was fun that you actually beat her, at the Master O, and,
Masters. Yeah, look, I say to myself, I have one thing that most of the USA athletes don't have, and that is experience in traveling, knowing how the body's going to handle the far flights. It's not a 4 or 5 hour flight, it's an 18, 19-hour flight. So I knew if I kept my head on right, if there's any possibility of me beating her, it would be that she comes off slightly off and I'm on my game. Because I mean, if she's on her game, she's better than me. It's just, it is what it is.
she has
And
yeah, it's because she's shorter too, right? Is she shorter
No,
than
and
you?
she's very bubbly. I mean, her muscles are just beautiful. So
Yeah.
I think also, she has don't think she has size on me. And if she brings that in conditioned, I knew so I thought, I knew if there's any chance of me beating her, it would be that she comes off slightly not as um conditioned as she was at the um
Triple.
triple. And then I saw her in prejudging. And then I knew I had to just tighten up between prejudging and keep my body because I knew that it was always going to be 50-50 because she wasn't quite where she was as as she was at the Triple Dynasty. So it was a guy either they're going to place a softer look but with muscle, or they're going to place a slightly smaller conditioned look. So it was a 50-50 chance. So I just buckled down in between the two, prejudging a main event, and said, all right, let's
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. We were super, super happy that day. I remember Dom, like, the time difference was so large, but
Yeah.
we were still like, nobody's left that week.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the hardest part with the traveling because we did Portugal and we did Japan. So, I mean, those are pretty cool, with American times. I mean, you guys had to be awake in the night when I was getting ready for a show. So that was, uh, yeah, what do you call it when juggling the hours and the show times and the stuff. And I mean, coach was there every step of the way. I mean, there was not a minute where I had to wonder what's next. I knew exactly when to do it, how to do it, where to go from here. So there was no, so which made my process emotionally easier because I think I had a really rough time at triple, you know, checking in and then not receiving an update in the next 2 hours. So I had to eat. I didn't know what to eat. So all the stress it was just horrible. So having a coach now that I knew exactly where things are going. That just made it like a hundred times different.
I agree. I agree. I'm super excited now for what's gonna come from your off season. I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
incredible. That's one of the things I even told Dom. I said, I mean, I would love to go to the Olympia again this year. I would love to actually do a few shows, like potentially, um, some of the ones that are close to each other is Tampa, Atlanta, um, and the Texas Pro and the Rising Phoenix. Those are all kind of like back to back. I would
Yeah.
love
What
to do
what
them.
what month are those? What month are they?
Um, so the Tampa would be the very last week of July, and then with
August to September.
I think Atlanta coming right after, and then Texas though just a week later, and then the Rising just 2 weeks later, something like that. So it would be like end of July and then all the month of August, and then the Olympics already in September, which
Really?
for me would be much better because last year, and I think you saw how kind of disappointed I was at the O because I knew that my body wasn't responding. I mean, weeks before the O, and Dom did too, but it was just too late for me to catch up because I'm the kind of person that I lose my pop very easily. And
Yeah.
being on and being on prep the whole entire year just kind of like I my body just doesn't that was the first time in my entire career that I did something like that. My entire
Yeah.
time, that I competed before, I only competed 1 show or 2 shows max, back to back, and then I would be done,
Yeah.
you know?
No,
I
I
would
must.
call it off, and then but
Yeah.
then this is the first time that I started prep in January, competed in May, competed in June, and then competing again in October.
Yeah, but
So
I
some
must say
people
to you,
respond well. Mhm.
yeah, even in women's bodybuilding, there was a couple of athletes that started early, and then they got to Olympia, but they just weren't the same. You know, I've not, even if they placed top five, it's not even that. It's losing that conditioning. It's not the same athlete on Olympia as they were at the first show. And you see that it's tough on
Yeah.
the body. We think we're we're unbreakable, and once the body decides, there's not much you can do about it.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. And it's crazy because I have in the sport of bodybuilding is not necessarily like a good thing to be as thin as I am. Like, of course, a woman who is very thin would look at me and think I'm crazy because I know I'm muscular for compared to them, but compared to bodybuilders, I have the thin look because I've been pretty much thin my entire life. My
Yeah,
metabolism is a little bit different.
it's
My
really.
genetics is different, right? So when I push my body to those extremes, it doesn't respond well, which is the opposite of any other sport, right? In basketball and football, you train harder, you get to the field and you do you're always constantly training, training, training. Now for bodybuilding, just like what we mentioned at the beginning, we're just that horse that needs to be pulled back sometimes because the more doesn't necessarily translate into the to better.
You're
So
right.
for
Yeah.
me, I
Mhm.
think I was so excited too with Olympia coming that I was just like,
Well, you do. Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's a pretty big stage. So, I mean, if you're on your way getting ready for Olympia and you sort of go, nah, you can't, then it shouldn't be the show for
"You're
you.
crazy." Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, then, you need to find something else to do because, I mean, if anything should push you to do more and better, it's the Olympia, right? So,
Yeah.
I can 100% understand where, and the frustration that has to go with it as well when the body just doesn't want to be where you want it to be. That I also know pretty well. I've also
Yeah.
had my fair share of extreme training, and
Mhm.
not necessarily heavy weights, but the
Yeah.
hours of cardio, hours of weight training. So and then doesn't matter how hard you push, there's
No,
nothing happening, and there's
there's
nothing
nothing.
you can do about that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about that. And one thing before we end, because I know we've been here for a while now,
Fine.
and it's late there, right?
Okay.
What time is it there?
It's about 10 to 8 now in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but one more thing too that I realized is that I need I needed to eat a good amount of food really to maintain the muscle
Look,
mass that I
I'm jealous of you because if I see what you're eating, I'm like, no.
have. Girl, let me tell you, I think I would rather like have to tighten up things and be because I'm not a big eater.
Oh no, I'm like looking at the food you're posting and I'm like, no, I'm gonna.
It's just like it's a lot. And I'm almost like I'm gonna tell Dom like I need and I know we are going to do some strategies now for my off season like we did the last time that was very successful for me. I do really well with insulin because what happens with insulin, and Dom is really good about that because he worked in a bariatric center for so many
Yeah, yeah,
years. I'm confident in doing something. I know it's dangerous, so that's not the focus of the
yeah.
conversation here is
No, but
for us to just
100. I
share.
mean, the man you have in your corner is just,
But
it's just
it
different.
having using that the first time that I did my off season, it
Yeah,
helped me so much because I was always hungry.
yeah,
And I
nice.
could eat, and sometimes he would even tell me, he's like, what is your plan is what is on your plan. Then if you keep eating the way you're eating, you're going to gain fat. It's just impossible not to, because right
Yeah,
now
yeah.
your cells are just absorbing everything. And I'm like, but I'm hungry, but I would eat. I just crazy amounts. But
Yeah, nice.
it felt so good, Tiana, to actually like
Mm.
enjoy food like
Being
that.
enjoy food. Yeah. I must say to you, that's the one thing, um, coming off prep, because I was on Reta, right? So it takes
Yes,
away
yes,
that extreme hunger. And
yes.
also, we were talking about that, the excitement of eating, and so even coming off it now, I'm only starting to get interested in eating more and finding even, if I have to have my cheat meal, I'm like, yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know,
even know what I
you know,
want. Yeah,
yeah. So even now today, I bought myself a wrap because I was actually wanted something, so that feels good. So Retos definitely has a place in prep, but it sort of spoils food for you for a minute, right?
it does. It does. And I said that before on a podcast that I did with Branya. Between not being hungry and being hungry, I prefer being hungry and having to like kind of pull myself back a little bit from eating than just every time I eat, I'm like, oh, I don't want to eat.
Yeah.
Like,
I must say
because
also, I think for me, that also had a good effect on my insulin because I tend to, blow up so quickly. So that was, I think it had a very positive effect in that way, which you won't have to worry about, right? Because, I mean, you just burn carbs looking at it. So,
I took a DNA test. I mentioned here many times. And the DNA test showed me that my carbohydrate tolerance is like 100%.
oh,
It's like
nice.
100%. And I did the opposite for many years when I first started doing bodybuilding because I was on a ketogenic diet,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
just,
Also, we all tried that at some point of our lives. I don't think
yeah,
there's one fitness athlete. We all did keto diets at some point.
we all did the keto diet and we swear that would be it. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I remember
This is the right program.
yeah, there was a book too that said something about having like a massive cheat meal to kind of get back to your like to burn more calories or
Yeah. Yeah.
like back in the day Arnold would do that with Franco and he would go to IHOP and eat pounds of pancakes
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, this sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna eat fat and I'm gonna get leaner and
It's just gonna be
and then I'm gonna have a
amazing.
date that I'm just gonna eat like a maniac. And people are telling me, and like this book is telling me, encouraging me to do that, which is insanity because it's exactly what happens with a lot of females and a lot of males too. Because we did have a consultation a couple days ago of a guy saying that he did the same thing, which is starvation for a couple days and then
Right.
massive binging for a day.
Yeah. And
It's
then
it's
trying to
like
stop that binging. Yeah, because the thing is, once you've been on that and you try and eat, it's like you can't stop doing this to your face. you know,
no,
you just want to
and then you
stuff
feel
everything.
terrible. You feel terrible. Your face is just like so puffy. Your hands are puffy. You feel like shit. You're lethargic. Your
Yeah.
stomach is like this big.
And tomorrow
And
morning when you wake up, it feels like you had a whole box of wine because of all
yeah,
this.
you feel hangover. And then you like go through these days of just like talking so much shit to yourself, about the things that you did. Why did I do this? Why did I do this? So then here I am as a young, woman starting in fitness. I read a book that is convincing me that that's actually a great way to live, but in a very nice way.
Yeah.
It's like, this is science. No, this is just messing up with my head because
Yeah,
now
and
I am.
uh, creating mental issues because I mean, at the end of the day, it's
Because there is
So if
nothing balanced about a ketogenic diet, especially for a person who is training a lot because you're using so much
Mhm.
glycogen in
I
your
actually
body.
was following a keto diet for so long, and I um, ended up having a cheat meal for the day. But what I did is I had ribs, but the ribs was in, they have that barbecue basting and stuff. After having that ribs, and a white bun, right? I had sugar poisoning for 5 days, 5 to 6 days, because of the sugar that was in the
And the
in the
ribs, yeah,
basting, and my body wasn't used to it, and I actually got physically sick from it.
sick from
So you're
it.
thinking you're doing yourself a favor, but
No,
you're not.
no, you're not. No. And then it goes like you're 5 days feeling extremely sick, 5 days
Yeah,
potentially being on a strict diet again because you feel like shit and you don't want to feel that way again. So
yeah,
you go back to your old ways. And then
yeah.
comes on the 6th day, you can take it anymore, then you binge again.
Then yeah, yeah.
I
No,
am so happy that
yeah,
those years are over.
yeah. I even had a girl in this week that messaged me and says she's tired, she's this, and I've been looking at her when she's training in the gym, and you know, figuring out, she's sending me what she's eating. I said to her, my girl, you at some point you're gonna one rest and two eat more. Because somewhere your body's gonna start breaking down here because you're not, yes, you cannot be on a deficit diet the whole time. So, and I think that's just, and that's not somebody who's competing. That's just the girl in the gym that wants to look good the whole time. So they're on this restrictive diets the whole year round, training really hard. And I said to her, you're gonna have to at some point. I'm not saying get fat, but you are going to have to take something back just for a second. I said to her, and if you see my natural medication I have to take, the coach has me on it's a box. I said to
All
her,
the supplements. Yeah.
all the supplementation, I said to her, if you see what type of supplements I have to drink just to make sure that I'm coping with stuff. And now you're not feeding your body the right food balances and stuff. I said to her, at some point your body's just gonna go, nah. And I mean, and that's just somebody that's in the gym training. It's not a competitor. And the thing is, especially in the small community gym that we have, you know everybody, so you you have more attention to every person that walks in, even though they might not notice you noticing stuff, but you pick up on little things,
Absolutely.
and yeah, and I said to her, that you're gonna have to one take a little bit of a load off training. And then two, you're gonna have to give your body at some point. You're gonna have to give back to the body. You cannot keep on taking away from the body. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, it is a mental thing. Food.
Food. Food is just it's a very serious thing because like a person who is addicted to any kind of other drug, they can be away from they can clean up, detox, and then be away from it. I mean, I wouldn't suggest anybody who is trying to come off of drinking alcohol to be sitting at a bar every
No,
night, right?
now you have to change
But
your
don't have
surroundings.
a but if you don't have a good relationship with food, then you have to eat to survive. And you can't really tell people how to eat because you're going through whatever you're going through. So if you have a clean house where all of your foods there kind of align with your goals, but then you go to your mother's house and then there is a piece of cake there and you can't control yourself because you're going through these eating disorders, you're not there to tell them to cater to your needs,
Uh,
right? You're like, so
yeah, yeah. Well,
it's
my
such a
mom's got a cupboard in her home that has cookies and everything in there. It's horrible. 'Cause I don't have that in my house because we have a saying: if you have it in your house, you're gonna eat it. So we don't have it in our house, right? And then we go visit, and there's biscuits and cookies and chocolates. It's like, Mom,
is the
that is
same at
not good.
is
I'm
the
not
same at
looking.
mom's. The
It's
same at Dom's parents. Dom parents, they have amazing food all the time. It's so hard to say
yeah,
no.
yeah.
But Tiana, thank you so much. We had a great talk, and I think it's a very
Yeah,
valuable information to share with a lot of females who are starting, or even the ones who are already, in the game for so long. It's so amazing to have you on the team and, communicate with you. I never forget when I first saw some of your pictures. I think it was in some competitions in Europe, and I was like screenshotting your butt. Like, I
Yeah.
want her butt. I want her glutes.
And you won't believe it, but that was actually my biggest weakness.
I
And I
know,
just
you
think,
told me.
oh,
And I'm
yeah,
so glad you told me that 10-minute video that I have it on my phone,
yeah,
and I always watch it to make sure that I'm consistently doing them.
yeah. No, well, it's just because we don't, here in South Africa, we don't have the coaches you have. Most of our coaches are men, right? So the last thing a man trains when they go into the gym, here at least, is glutes, So I had
Yeah.
to try and figure that one out on my, my
I think one of the main ones you mentioned that made a huge difference on your glutes was RDLs, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love doing RDLs. I think it helps me with the tie-in. It gives you a longer glute, which gives you a bigger glute, right? So yeah.
And then would you say that you implemented, don't recall if you said that on the video, but do you include that twice a week or just once a week?
Well, in my off season, I would just do that once a week. But once I start getting into prep, I might just add it with the quad day workout, just add one or two. But then most of it just goes through. And then obviously, I know some people say Stairmaster doesn't give you nice glutes. Stairmaster gives me nice glutes.
Because you always do them.
Because I stay master.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Jenna, say hi to
All right.
Tony from me
I will tell him.
and keep in touch. I'll talk to you soon.
We will. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.